1 year after a personal tragedy, a group of friends decides to take a cave diving trip in the Appalachian Mountains. After a cave-in traps them miles below the earth, one of the women informs the others that they are in an uncharted cave system and nobody knows that they're out there. To top it off, they soon learn the caves are home to a race of vicious humanoid creatures who are hunting them. All of this and more in the absolutely terrifying 2005 horror classic, The Descent. I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And I'm Caleb J.
And this is Filmgazm. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Filmgazm podcast. Before we get started, I have two quick announcements. First, I just want to thank Josh Allred for doing such an awesome job in his first gig as host of the show last week with Trick or Treat. Did a fantastic job leading the discussion. Definitely more Josh-led episodes coming in the future. He did a fantastic job. I'm very proud of him. Second, I want to announce the departure of the Giggle Guys. Andrew Bachman and Juwan Carter are breaking away from Filmgazm to start their own thing. It's a completely mutual decision, zero bad blood, and we wish them all the success in the world. They've done a great job with their show, Guys Who Giggle with the Giggle Guys, if you've been following that. And when they get their new thing up and running, you can go check it out. Thanks for being part of the team. Now, The Descent. Caleb, this was your pick for our ongoing cycle. Do you remember your first time with this movie?
Yes. This was like many movies. It came out 2005, so I want to say elementary, so on the cusp of middle school. Memory's a little hazy on that one, but it was one of those I kept hearing about all the time from a lot of friends of mine, and it came out, and it's like everyone was talking about it, and everyone was talking about how freaky it was and scary, and I just was hearing about it. So I think I rented off Netflix or went to the video store. Probably went to the video store. And I rented it from there and watched it and just fell in love. Completely got why people were just fawning over this movie. It's quickly become one of my more favorite films. I think, if I recall correctly, it was in my top 10 for 2000s. Just really helped kind of define what I like about horror a lot.
Yeah, this one was in my top 10 as well, I believe. This is a bone-chilling movie. And I love that it's scary before, like, you don't even really need the monsters for this to be a terrifying movie. The monsters are just gravy. And that's cool. This movie's entirely built around atmosphere, isolation, and just tension. It's so great. I remember very clearly the first time I saw this because it freaked me out. It was right before I moved to Texas. My dad drove up from Virginia to spend the week with me, and we watched a bunch of movies. And in one night, we watched Resident Evil, Paranormal Activity, and The Descent. And I hadn't seen any of those movies at that yet. And The Descent was mind-blowing. I was so jazzed by this movie. It really fucked with my, I think we were all a little bit claustrophobic. And this movie really heightens that. I mean, you say no, but then, if you're trapped miles underground in a tight spot you can barely move in, you're claustrophobic.
No, I'm not disagreeing. I'm in general, I'm not claustrophobic, but at the same time, I'm not putting myself in this situation because of that whole tight space thing.
That's true. I'm never going cave diving because of this movie.
This movie, I was never really interested. Let's put that there. I never found interest in cave diving, but this movie really put the kibosh on that.
It's not like this movie ruined my life. I wasn't going to be, a free solo fucking mountain climber dude. But now I definitely won't be. Yeah, this is one that's been pretty impactful on both of our horror journeys. And that's because it's at its core, it is a very good movie. Great character development, great editing, great moments. The score is reminiscent of The Thing, which I fucking loved. Yeah, this is brilliant. I'm excited you picked this one.
Oh yeah, I was happy because it's been a long time since I watched, and I was like, I haven't seen this in a while, so I was like, let me pick it so I can watch it again.
So The Descent was written and directed by Neil Marshall, who also directed Dog Soldiers, Doomsday, the 2019 Hellboy reboot, and two of the best episodes of Game of Thrones, Season 2's Blackwater and Season 4's The Watchers on the Wall. Marshall decided to make a cast entirely out of women, as he believed women were underrepresented in the horror genre. And, you can agree or disagree with that, but the point is, his ensemble is fucking flawless.
Oh, he got together a great set of actresses here. Like, they are all fantastic, and they all stand out, and you know them by name. I mean, I can remember. As I was playing, I was like, oh yeah, okay, Juno. So like, it was just all coming back to me.
Yeah,
and it's just like, because and again, that's why the horror works. So where he makes these great, believable characters that by the time it does go down, like everything goes down, you're in, you're with them, and you're just as scared, you're just as mad, you're just as terrified as they are. And it's all because of their performance and their casting that he did.
Straight up. I'm surprised Neil Marshall didn't become a bigger name in horror with first Dog Soldiers, then The Descent. I know he didn't want to get typecast, but he ultimately didn't do much after this.
A lot of it has to do with I think studios kind of stepping in on his work after this, big time. I know, like, the recent Hellboy movie was rife with the studio coming in and telling him what to do, how to do it, and he just got, because he was talking about that in an interview I listened to, and it turned him off for a while. He kind of gave up there for a while, and he recently did come back with this movie called The Reckoning that I've heard is really, really good. It's on Shudder. I need to check it out.
Cool. I'm glad, because he's a very talented filmmaker when he has something to say. I didn't see Hellboy because I just heard from everybody that it was terrible, and I'm a Del Toro purist. I think his films both of them are fucking awesome. I love both Hellboy films. So I'm hesitant. I'm kind of waiting for our thing to get going before I end up watching that movie.
Oh, good. Now that I know that, I know how soon I can add it to the other show schedule.
And through you, I got to watch Dog Soldiers for the first time a few months ago, and that was a bitchin' werewolf movie. Marshall's fucking great with creatures, and I would love to see more creature features from this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he knows how to do creature features, and I think with both Dog Soldiers and the Descent, he knows how to give you a really small, tight group of characters to fall in love with. So when everything does go down, you're locked into it.
Yeah, definitely. Shauna Mcdonald plays Sarah, who lost her husband and daughter in an accident and has struggled to move past it. She would reprise her role in The Descent Part 2, was also in Filth and Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. I know that you didn't care for The Last Jedi, I believe, right?
No.
Yeah, neither did I.
I watched that movie so disappointed.
Yeah, well, she plays one of the background technicians, a rebel or a imperial person. I don't know which one. And then I don't remember. It's been a long time since I watched Filth, but that is a fucked up movie. If you ever want to watch James McAvoy lose his goddamn mind.
I kind of do want to see that.
By the guy who wrote Trainspotting. He's a narcotics cop who's really good at his job because he's on coke the whole time. He's fucking his boss's wife and just unapologetically doing horrendous shit to everybody. And it's a weird movie.
That's what I've heard. I remember it came out shortly, I think, after you got not Magneto, Professor X role.
Yeah.
We were like, ooh, young Professor X doing disgusting stuff in a movie.
I think McAvoy is one of the most underappreciated actors working today. I mean, all you gotta do is watch Split, and then you'll know exactly what this guy's capable of.
Oh yeah, he's a really great actor.
Yeah. I don't know why this made me think of that, but I recently found out that Gary Oldman has never used the same accent twice in every role he's ever played.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, not counting sequels where he plays the same character, but every character he's played has a slightly different voice. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah. No, I'm thinking about, wow, okay.
Unbelievable. And I just want to throw that out there. Moving on. Natalie Mendoza plays Juno, the group's de facto leader and absolutely terrible friend. She was also in Moulin Rouge, The Great Raid, and recently Annette. What a horrible human being, Juno. From beginning to end, she's just the worst.
Oh my God. And this is one of the issues I had with the sequels that, like, she comes back and it's like, I didn't want her back because she is terrible. She is one of the worst human beings.
She doesn't deserve redemption, first she fucked Sarah's husband, then she killed. I'm blaming her she killed Beth, as far as I'm concerned. She led them into this cave system without telling them where they were going or anybody. Yeah, she got all these people killed. This is all on her. Both movies, death count is on her.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I remember when I saw the sequel, I was like, why are we bringing her back trying to redeem her? She's a horrendous human being.
And also, she got over that, climbing pick to the leg really fast, because isn't the turnaround from 1 to 2 supposed to be like 1 or 2 days?
Yeah.
Now she's leaping around. Like, what?
And along with the fact that the last time you hear anything from her is when the creatures are on the back and you hear all of them.
Yeah, somewhere along the line, she turned into fucking Sarah Connor and is just tearing down humanoids 2 miles below the earth. But we're not here to talk about The Descent 2. That's for a different podcast. Alex Reed plays Beth, whom Juno kills by accident. She had a role in the British sci-fi series Misfits and a lot more British series bit parts. Most of the cast came out of the BBC, which is cool. And Beth's mostly known for her just grisly death scene where Sarah bashes her head in with a rock out of mercy.
Yeah, God, that's a grislier moment. And yeah, I will say, like, I love this cast, but at the same time, I haven't seen them outside of this movie. So most of my love is for this movie when it comes to this cast. But what I've seen them do, they're all wonderful. Like, you really feel that they are, like, or at least were at some point really, really good friends that like to do stuff together and had this camaraderie that other people just don't have. To the point that when it does get revealed that about what Juno did with her, fucking around her husband and the mad mob stuff, it kind of stings because it's like that's one of your best friends doing that to you.
Yeah. What happened to hoes before bros? Like, what the fuck? This is you're breaking the code here. Fuck, you don't do that. Saskia Mulder plays Becca. She was also in The Beach and the TV series The Book Group. And I get Becca and Sam mixed up. And that's just, unfortunate. What happened to Becca?
What happened to Becca? Are you asking me?
Yes. Like, which one? There's one who gets, like, who's dangling, gets their throat cut. And then the other one, I forget.
I want to say the one that's dangling gets their throat cut is Becca.
Okay.
That's what I want to say. But I also could be wrong.
Yeah.
Immediately when I watched this movie last night, it was after a long day of unpacking. I had a headache and I was kind of out of it, but I was like, I got to watch this for the podcast and I really want to watch it.
Fair enough. Mayanna Burring plays Sam. She plays Tisaya on Netflix's The Witcher. Was also in the series In the Dark, Ripper Street, and Downton Abbey, as well as the 2006 Omen remake. Yeah, I know you're a Witcher fan. I can see the.
I am. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. They have so many fucking characters in that show, and more with season 2 coming out now. I don't remember her in that show. God damn it.
I can't help you. I haven't watched the show.
I know. With that said, for anyone who hasn't seen it, great fucking show. Can't wait for season 2.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
I know. Nora Jane Noon plays Holly, Juno's protege. Noon was also in Doomsday, Brooklyn, and Ella Enchanted. She has a very recognizable face. I knew I remembered her. I've seen Brooklyn. Really good movie. What happens to her always fucking makes me cringe. Just the broken leg and the bone protrusion and it's getting eaten alive. I mean, Jesus Christ. Yeah, she was a little zealous, but I don't know if she deserved that.
Yeah, that's a tough one to get through. It's like every time I watch it, I'm just like, oh god, as soon as I like having to pop the bone back into the leg,
Oof.
just oh it hurts. Yeah, God. But also with that said, I was wrong. Sam is the one that was dangling and gets her throat ripped out, as per Wikipedia.
What happens? What? All right. What happens to Becca then?
Becca, oh you bastard. Uh,
You you had to have known that was gonna be the next question.
I didn't. She is dragged away and eaten alive.
Okay, I remember that now. I remember that now. Okay. All right. Good. 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 Um. So the Descent has an IMDb score of 7.2, Rotten Tomatoes score of 86%. Uh, it was fast tracked to beat the release of an American film with a very similar premise called The Cave, which I tried to watch and was so goddamn boring, I gave up.
Okay, you text me. I told you it was bad.
Yeah, I started watching it and I'm like, this seems promising. And then nothing was happening. And then I texted you and you were like, this is terrible. Don't bother. And I'm like, okay, I won't. But also
So this is not a good movie.
no, we have there's a time and a place, and it's not here. uh, the 2005 London bombings didn't help either. So didn't do too hot domestically in England. Globally, however, it grossed 57 million on a budget of only 3.5 million pounds, roughly 4.7 US dollars. 4.7 million US dollars. It'd be fucking crazy if that was the ratio. 3.5 million to $4. It had one sequel, which was not very well received. We'll talk more about that at the end of the show. But right now, let's discuss The Descent. And this thing, right out the bat, just runs into a fucking wall with the car crash. Jesus, is that brutal? I mean, pipes through the fucking head. Brutal.
Yeah, that to this day, man, like there's two car scenes I always think about when it comes to horror movies. First is Final Destination 2 with the logging truck.
Yeah, Final Destination 2. I haven't seen it, but I remember the preview. I remember seeing that bit with the logging truck and thinking, oh fuck. And every time I see a logging truck, I'm like, is today the day?
I don't ever get behind one. I'll immediately get into the next lane as soon as I can. But there's that one, and then this scene where I remember watching, going, "Oh my god!" Like, because you don't expect it. They're just having a nice car ride. Next thing you know, it's a crash. But Neil Marshall takes it that step further and has the pulse just come through and fucking hit right through her husband's head, and then off camera, her daughter.
The way it's framed though, where he just is turning to her, is like, "I'm fine," and you see the car, you see it coming at them, and you just want to be like, "No." And God, what a grisly way to lose your family. My God.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah. It's a hell of an opening. Like, it's like, God damn.
Gut punch right out the gate. And you can tell from Juno's reaction that there was something between her and the husband. From the get-go. You're just waiting for Sarah to find out.
Oh yeah. Like the whole time just waiting for like the ball to drop, shoot shot, what do you want to say? We're waiting for the one to get revealed.
I think
feel like pay attention.
The waiting for the other shoe to drop, I think, is the
there you go.
So after we get that horrific scene at the hospital where Sarah wakes up and learns that her daughter is dead, and just her friends comforting her, except for Juno, who fucked off, and they never forgave her for that.
Oh yeah, because I guess she couldn't handle being around them after getting dicked down by the husband secretly for God knows how long.
They weren't really doing a great job of keeping it a secret. I mean, he gave her a necklace that had his like fucking catchphrase on it. Love, what is it? Love each day.
I think so, something like that. This is also what I like with this, and why we'll get into it later. Get to why I prefer the original England British ending. Is that this starts the recurring dream that she keeps having throughout the movie. After the crash, she sees her daughter with the cake, and it's just a dream that keeps playing and with variations as the film progresses to show you kind of where she's at mentally.
Yeah, that's true. Um, so after we flash to about a year later, they're all getting together in Appalachia to go cave diving. Sarah obviously not quite over such a tragedy, and they're all trying to pep her up. Gal trip, gonna be fun. And Juno completely misleads them about what they're doing, which is so fucked up.
You know something's up the moment they get there, and she puts the book up, and you're like, something's up. Because why would you do that? Why the fuck would you take the guide? Why would you leave the guide behind?
Yeah. And then she's there to teach, Holly's there to kind of learn the ropes, and she's too eager. Juno lashes out at her a few times. And they're going through, it's pretty swimmingly at first, just going through super tight spaces. That freaks me out more than the monsters do, is climbing through the tiny spaces where, if you shift your weight the wrong way, even a little bit, the whole thing's coming down. That's terrifying.
Yeah. Well, it's like we were talking about before. Like, this movie works so well because initially the horror is the fucking tightness of that cave. It's like, and what I love is that he does it by, if you notice, the film is wide open when it first starts. From them doing the little river rafting to even the car trip. Or actually, car trip, it stays in the car. It's nice and again enclosed and something tragic happens, but then it goes back to wide out shots throughout to try to pepper up before we finally get funneled, essentially, us, the audience, into a very tight, confined space for the rest of the film.
Oh, yeah, that's not an accident. I'm looking up the cinematographer right now because I'm curious who is responsible for that. Guy's name is Sam McCurdy. Well done, Sam. Let's see what else he's done. Game of Thrones, of course. A lot of TV, Pennyworth, Lost in Space, Into the Badlands, The Musketeers, Merlin. Very little, not a lot of films, very few films. Hills Have Eyes 2. He was the guy on that. Doomsday, Dog Soldiers. So he works with Neil Marshall a lot. He's a talented guy.
That's good. Good for him.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, no, between him and Neil Marshall, you're definitely seeing a vision. And like I said, seeing this film be very wide open before it's almost like it's letting you breathe as the audience before you're sucked into that tightness with the characters.
Yeah. And the moment really where you kind of lose your breath is when Sarah gets stuck. Because all of a sudden it turns real.
Yeah. Because even at first in the cave, you're kind of having fun with them. They're like, oh, okay, we're having a good time. Then, yeah, the moment she gets stuck, and the way he filmed it, I noticed this a lot more watching it this time, with how the camera just kind of stays there and is looking at her. So you can really feel the tightness of the fucking cave or the little system they're going through. And oh my God, to this day, that scene I get the most insane amount of claustrophobia and just fear and stuff whenever that scene plays.
What's amazing is they never actually filmed any of this in a cave system. All of this is a set. Probably because, it's fucking dangerous to film in real caves like this, and nobody wanted to do it.
It's I would imagine a movie company would put an end to that real quick. Can you imagine no Marshall was just hey, so I'm thinking, now follow me here, okay, guys? We film in an actual cave. Don't ask me how we're going to get a crew down there or craft services or anything, but we're going to do it. It's going to be great. Some people might die, but they're going to make a damn good movie out of it.
I'm just picturing one of those crawlers with a little mini taco plate, just kind of chilling before they get going. Craft services.
It actually talks super sophisticated English.
He's a graduate of the Royal Shakespeare Academy. He's been waiting to get into Hollywood his whole life. This is his first break, so he's practicing Shakespeare on the side. As soon as Neil yells action, it's back to there has to be somebody in there who this was not quite their dream, but they're making it work.
It's not quite their tempo, but they're doing it.
So with Sarah getting stuck and having to sacrifice the rope bag, which is a big casualty for them, the way out, well, the way in caves in. And that bit with Sarah and I think it's Becca or Sam, might be Beth.
I think it was Beth.
It's hard to.
It was Beth. It was Beth.
They're all good, but it is hard to kind of differentiate from time to time, especially when everything's moving, you know? Yeah, when they climb out and the cave collapses, that's when Juno finally fesses up and says, you know, this is a new cave. We were going to discover it together. And everyone's like, you fucking bitch, you killed us. Like she has no backup, no support. Everyone's like, what the fuck? Which I love. I love that everyone's like, how could you do this, you insane person?
Yeah, as it should be. I don't know what she thought when she was like saying that, like, oh, it's no one knows we're here. It's an unexplored cave. Like, what do you think they'd be like? Oh, okay, well, thank you. Now let's keep all cool and let's find a way out. We got this. All right, girls. No, you're going to freak the fuck out.
Yeah, definitely. Because now they don't know where to go. They go the wrong way. They end up, miles away from, oxygen. Like shit gets bad. I mean, they're under the earth in uncharted caves. It's not like there's anything they can do besides just keep moving. And Holly gets overzealous and slips and falls down a hole and breaks her fucking leg.
Oh yeah. After that very intense, like gasm sequence where I get over. Oh man, I still get like on the edge of my seat when that scene happens, and like nothing scary happens, but it's just a tense scene.
Oh, it's great. It makes you think one of them's going to drop, and then I love that they find old equipment and realize they're not the first team to be down here, and what happened to them. Oof.
Yeah, they weren't the first, and it looks like the first team didn't fare too well either.
Nope. They did, however, mark a path, so good for them.
Yeah, and then Holly gets overzealous, and it's funny watching now. I was kind of getting annoyed. I was like, "Stop running, you dumb bitch!" I was like, "Stop it!" I was like, "You're in a cave. You're running through the dark. Nothing good happens if you run in the dark, even if it's your home or the cave. You hit something or you fall and break your leg."
There aren't even monsters yet. Like she's not running away from anything. She's just panicking.
Yeah, it's like, stop panicking, calm down.
Granted, though, if I was in this position, I'm probably going to be the fucker who breaks his leg because I'm going to freak out. I'm not going to know what to do. I'm going to panic. I'm going to be the first guy to die. I know.
Because you're going to be the first one to get eaten because you can't run.
I can run. Oh wait, if I break my leg, yeah, you're right.
I mean, apparently, I guess you can run with a broken leg.
They try though. My God, did they try? Just having her bite down on the strap and just pushing the fucking bone back in. Oh man, I fucking hate bone protrusions. That's a big one for me in movies.
Yeah, I think what makes this is that the sound effects on this one are just gnarly. I noticed that last night when I was watching. I was like, God, the sound effects are like, oh, like how you can hear every second of the fucking crunch as they're having to put it back into place.
The crunch. Oh God. And during the crunch, Sarah sees something out the corner of her eye and it's like, wait a minute, what was that? And nobody believes her that she saw a person because she's sad, therefore she's hallucinating, which I think is fucked up.
Yeah, there's a lot of doubt. They keep doubting her quite a bit throughout this movie. Yeah, and that's what I like too, is that like, obviously we'll get to the big reveal, but like as this movie progresses, something I didn't really mention is that Neil Marshall does a great job of dropping the hints of what's going on. Like you said, with the finding the old equipment, hearing noises every so often in the meal, like, what was that? And then this one, in this scene where she's looking and you just see in the distance something clearly moving. Like someone's eating, looked at her and then ran. And it's like, oh, okay, what's going on? Like, what the fuck did they just get themselves into?
Oh yeah. It's super great, super creepy. And we first see this thing proper through the video camera that Holly was using to document the experience. And it's so great. It's one of the best scares ever, because at that point you're not quite sure what is following them, but you know something is. And that reveal is so fucking freaky. Just what is that? There's
it's one of, to me, to this day, one of the best reveals like in the horror movie history. Like up to when the shark comes up out of the water in Jaws for the first time that you witness. Like it's up there to me in that kind of like moments. Like I can to this day vividly remember watching this for the first time, going, okay, this is good, but I heard those monsters. When are they going to pop up? Like, and when they got to that scene with the camera, I remember jumping so fucking hard as a kid. Like it legit got me when I was a kid. I was like, oh my, like I had a moment of like, oh my God, what's going on? This movie just changed directions. And, you know, obviously it doesn't give me, because I've seen the movie so many times, but it's still such a great and effective scene because you don't see it coming. You're in such like, you know, something's going to happen at some point because they keep giving, like I said, they're giving you those hints, but there's, you know, Neil Marshall does such a great job of not doing like a big dramatic reveal or any of this stuff. He kind of like dulls your senses down so that when it does happen, you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's awesome. And all of a sudden, like now this is a monster movie. It was a survival movie. Now it's a monster movie. And they just start running, and this thing just grabs Holly and just drags her away. And they can't do fucking anything about it. I love Juno's trying to like pull her, and the monster's just like grabbing, starts clawing at Holly, just ripping her open. Like, what the fuck? This movie takes a hard left.
It gets mad at her too for a second. It doesn't even try to eat it. It just gets bothered, like, dude, leave my food alone. Get out of here.
Yeah, like, this is how it works. You're in my house. Get out of here. And Juno starts, you know, attacking the monsters with her climbing pick and gets panicked and stabs Beth in the throat. It's a hell of a moment. Yeah,
and still, I remember that was another one that got me as a kid because I remember just like I think I visually had a moment as a kid. I went, "Oh shit!" Like as soon as it happened, because it's like you don't expect that to happen. You're just like, oh, "Okay, she's gonna get one of the monsters." No, it's Beth who was apparently walking away from one relatively safely, just to get a fucking pickaxe to the goddamn throat.
Well, and you know, Juno doesn't, you know, put her out of her misery or fess up to it. She just leaves Beth to bleed out in a sea of monsters. She's not a great friend.
No, and she doesn't tell anyone what she did. You know, she's like, "Oh God, keep it quiet."
Beth is dead. Cuckoo, cuckoo.
Well, kind of dead.
Yeah, we find out later. She's just been lying there, drowning in her own blood for quite some time. But not quite dead, which is oh my God, it's a fate worse than death. Especially since she thinks that they've all abandoned her. Ugh. So creepy.
Yeah, her death isn't like the most grisliest you see on screen. And really now that like this movie has the gore. Don't get me wrong. This movie has the gore. Not the most insane gore I've seen, but it has the gore. But with that said, like it's more like the thought of her is kind of disturbing because you know she gets that to the neck, which apparently does not kill her. And then she's in a different spot. She's found in a different spot. So one of those monsters grabbed her and dragged. And we're assuming eat a little bit. Oof. So the implications, to quote Dennis, are terrifying.
Oh my God.
That's right.
I saw, just off topic real quick, I saw somebody photoshopped a Goosebumps book and called it The Implication and had Dennis on it, and it said like she could, but she won't. Like that was the tagline. It was so fucked up. And it was the classic cover.
Oh, speaking of which, I have my order of the third 10 I don't know if you even noticed they've been releasing 10 cases of Goosebumps novels with the original covers, and they'll put like 5 books in there at a time.
That's cool.
I've gotten the first two, and they just came out with the third one, and it's on the way. So I'll have 15 classic Goosebumps novels with the original covers.
I had quite the collection back in the day, but I was forced to give them up in middle school because my parents thought they were too childish for me and I should be reading more challenging stuff, which blows. So I lost all my Goosebumps.
Yeah, my parents, I don't get rid of mine. She never explained why, but I had a pretty good collection when I was a kid.
Oh, good times. We got to do Goosebumps on here one time just so we can talk about that shit for the whole show.
Yeah, ooh, that might be like October one for next year.
Definitely. We didn't really get to do a lot of personal picks for this October because there was so much coming out that we wanted to time with. You know, we had James Bond, we had Halloween Kills. We didn't really get to make our own October schedule this year. I mean, we had some good episodes. I'm just saying, you know, I like picking classics.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely next year. You know, we can actually do Halloween 3.
Yeah, it's already on the schedule.
See if you have a second change on that one.
Yeah, it happens.
Both ends, as we've learned with Rosemary's Baby with me. So
yeah, the second watch, we could turn that into a whole nother podcast. It's a great title. We won't. We're too fucking busy. Just don't get your hopes up.
Yeah, I got enough on my plate right now.
So Sarah watches Holly get eaten, I'm fairly certain, alive, which was, to me, the grisliest moment of the movie, where she's just sitting there kind of unsure of what to do while Holly just gets ripped open.
Oh, yeah, dude. And watching it through like the video camera, and then she has that quick moment where she's about to gag. And you see the creature look at her, and it's like right up on her face. And I'm like, oh my God, don't say anything.
But I think that's how she realizes that these things are blind and they hunt by sound, which is good. Good thing to know.
Right, almost dying.
So Juno was indeed fucking Sarah's husband. Beth, like when Sarah finds Beth uses her last words to say, Juno did this and she was sleeping with your husband. I love that that's like her last act on earth is to tell Sarah exactly how much of a bitch Juno is.
Yeah, I love how like she's like, okay, before I die, you have to know how horrible this friend is. She is the asshole friend in the group, all right? Not only did she fucking put this goddamn pickaxe through my throat, she fucked her husband. Now you take your pick which one's worse, but they're both pretty bad.
Actually, I wanted to bring that up. Might as well do it now. At the end, when Sarah, faces Juno, gets her in the leg to hobble her so that the creatures get her first. You think she was doing that for Beth or she was doing that for Paul? Which one do you think more?
Oh, so both is an option since you're going to say more.
Oh, she definitely it was a combo, but there was definitely more on her mind at the time.
I'm actually going to say Beth. I think Paul was sad, but you always get the feeling she was more obviously more depressed about her child. So I'm going to say Beth.
Yeah. I don't think it's so much about Paul being dead. I think it's about the ongoing betrayal and looking in her eyes and saying how sorry she is for so long, knowing that she was, destroying their marriage. And I think that came through in the end of like, she remembered all that and was like, oh, you're not making it out of this cave alive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Especially if we act like there was never a sequel made, she didn't make it out of that cave alive. So, I also want to touch on another we could say iconic in a way on this scene. A moment was before she finds her dead body when she falls into the pool of blood.
Oh
man! And I mean, one of the most it's on the Blu-ray for anyone who has the Blu-ray. I don't know if they come out with a newer Blu-ray, but my Blu-ray has that as cover.
Mine too.
I've seen it in video games. The Tomb Raider reboot, they had a scene where Lara Croft falls into a pool of blood and she comes out of it. Like it's one of the most recognizable moments from the film, and it's such a fucking awesome moment. Because like when you realize what she falls into, you're like, that's blood. That's a lot of blood. And she comes up out of it, and she's like, oh my god. And then that fucking thing comes over to her.
Oh, the way the creatures just kind of saunter into frame is so creepy. Like there's never it's never a jump scare. It's always like now it's here. It's it's so fucking weird. You have plenty of time to realize it's coming.
Yeah, like in that scene, she's getting out of the water, and there's no jump scare. You just see this thing pop up out of the water and lunge at her, and you're like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
Oh god, I do like that. Later on, Tomb Raider would kind of pay homage because earlier in the movie, you've got one of them said something about like, "I'm not fucking Tomb Raider."
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
And Tomb Raider is also British.
Yes, she is. Lara Croft. I never got into those games. I had one of them on PlayStation 1 as a kid, and I couldn't figure out how to play it.
I'm not big into the original one, but they did a reboot in 2013. It was just called Tomb Raider. For like at the time the PlayStation 3. I think they re-released it for the 4. But that one was really good. It played a lot more like action adventure. Admittedly, it played a lot more like Uncharted, but I took that as a positive because I really liked how it played.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big Uncharted fan. I love all of those games. So
okay, but also it played a lot like that as far as like the style and everything. A little bit darker, I would say, throughout. Whereas I know Uncharted will be light and goofy, and then do those supernatural twists at the end. Whereas this, all three games they did were kind of dark throughout the whole thing. But it did so well that they did Rise of the Tomb Raider for the PS4 and Shadow for the PS4 as well. All three were good in my opinion.
Cool.
All three were good in my opinion. So,
all right. Well, I don't. Maybe I'm kind of good on games. I think I've got all the games I want. I think I'm okay.
No, I'm a whore for games. I just picked up Far Cry 6 for my PS5. They're coming out with that Grand Theft Auto, the Definitive Edition trilogy, which is 3 Vice City and San Andreas remastered. I'm probably gonna pick that up for my Switch.
I'm gonna buy God of War Ragnarok, and then I'm gonna Then I'll buy Spider-Man 2, and then I'll stop. That's all I want.
Wow.
I've got so much to juggle. It's fucking crazy. And also, I just don't have the zeal I used to for video games. To me, it's like a chore now.
So you're not going to play the Marvel game from the Uncharted people, or a lady, I should say.
What Marvel game?
So the director lady, whoever was in charge of Uncharted originally when it first came out, I think she got to the second or third game to form her own studio. She got tasked with working on a secret project, and she wasn't revealing anything about it for like the longest time. Last week, it was revealed she's working on a Marvel property, and that's why she hasn't been talking about it. She's been working closely with Marvel on it.
I don't know. Their track record in games kind of sucks. I don't know about that.
Not with Spider-Man, and you're talking about a lady that did work on one of the premier Sony exclusives. I have faith in this one. It's whenever they work with apparently someone like Square Enix that did that shitty Adventures game.
I'm not paying full price. I'm like Mac at the Italian market when it comes to video games. I'm not paying full price.
God, I know.
I'm not gonna just throw around $60 for a game I might like. That's crazy.
Look, you have to take the risk.
No, I don't.
Yes.
I don't have to take anything. I'm fine.
Just gotta take the risk. Either way, we got a Marvel game coming from the lady who worked on the Uncharted series, so I'm fucking excited.
Well, good for you. You can blow $60-$70 on that game and let me know how it is.
It'll be amazing. Don't you worry.
No, nice.
Negative Nancy.
I'm not a negative Nancy. I am a practical Paul. And I'll buy games, just not full price. Like under $20 is my threshold.
You live in an age of gaming we don't live in anymore.
No, all I gotta do is wait. I got God of War for $18. Like, all I had to do was wait a few years. I'm in no hurry. Red Dead's almost, it's 25 now used. All I got to do is wait probably till Christmas.
God.
Yeah, it's called The Long Game. You should play it sometime.
No, because I like enjoying it now.
I forgot where we were in the movie. I don't. Pool of Blood, I believe.
Yes, that's what it's changed on.
There's that scene where Becca or Sam, I think we even learned it was Becca, gets ripped apart while dangling from the ceiling of the cave.
Nope, Sam.
It was Sam. Goddamn.
God, I told you fucked this up.
They're interchangeable for me, man. It's hard to make that clear.
I mean, at least they're not babies, so that's good.
Oh my god. Only you remember that.
No, Josh does too. You forget the part that we live together now, so
cool. I don't know. You give me 5 minutes of one of those baby crawlers, I'll fuck that thing up.
We know you well. You've proven we cannot trust you around babies or children.
But I can kill as many monster babies as I want. Nobody cares.
No, you're still a monster.
In part 2, I was not expecting them to fall into a pile of shit.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was uncomfortable. Didn't care for that. That was unnecessary.
Care for that movie, but
so Sarah is now pretty fucked mentally after falling into a vat of blood and crawling out. She manages to stumble onto Juno and gives her the opportunity to fess up. Says, you watched Beth die, right? And Juno says, yeah. And that's when I think Sarah makes a decision like, I'm going to kill this bitch. I think right there.
Yeah. And you know what? Juno had it coming. I wanted her to die so goddamn hard.
Yeah, I don't think it was she had to go in a much more spectacular, painful way, I think, for everything she's done. And we kind of just get like a mini redemption arc in part 2, and like she gets a little sliced in the belly and bleeds out, which I don't think is fair. She should have.
Well, again, part 2 doesn't count. No, Mothra did not direct it. I don't consider it canon.
It's canon, man. It's not up to you. It's up to whatever studio did this.
You know what's the preferred ending anyway? The original British ending. So you know what? It doesn't even follow the canon ending. Suck it.
I don't care. I don't care. But yeah, there are two kind of endings to this film. There's the British ending, which is considerably more bleak and un-American, which is why the studio that bankrolled this project said, like, for America, you need she's got to live. Because we in America cannot tolerate a sad fucking ending. Everything has to end in sunshine and lollipops, and I don't really know why. We don't need, let us have a little bit of grim reality once in a while.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's like there's so many movies I've watched. I realized I've been watching like the butterfly, even some that was back to me, like the Butterfly Effect, and they're just like, no, don't do that ending. It's too grim. And I'm like, okay, look, I get it. Movies aren't escape from reality, but at the same time, I'm firmly a believer of like the ending should be dictated based off your movie. It needs to fit your themes, your message, your story, whatever you're telling, that ending needs to fit. If it is a dark ending, go for it as long as it fits. That's why I say, like, to me, the Butterfly Effect director's ending, it fits. It's dark, it's nihilistic as fuck, but it fits the movie. Same with this. To me, it fits because it continues dealing with that theme of trauma, that theme of grief that is carried throughout this film, and how Sarah, there you go, is feeling in, with everything going on with the loss of her husband, daughter, finding out Juno was fucking her husband, weird bat creature people attacking them and eating them, like everything right going on. And this ending, the British ending, really hammers that home of like, she never truly mentally escapes, so she's just not going to physically escape this place.
How fucked is it when your all of your friends getting eaten alive by bat creatures isn't even the worst thing that happened to you that year? Like, I just feel so bad for her. Jesus, she's lost everything. She has nothing left. Her whole life is gone. Everyone she ever cared about.
Yeah, and that's why that ending works. Because at that point, I'd probably say cave. I'd be like, what do I have to live for if I get out of this cave?
Yeah, but also to have that moment of like seeing her escape and then realizing she didn't, that she's trapped in there. Oh, goddamn.
Oh my god, yes. And then it's just like I think what really haunts me with that ending is when you see her, she's sitting there and she's looking at her daughter, and you finally see the full dream she's been having where she's looking at her and it's her birthday and they're having this great time. And the camera cuts to a side view of her and she's sitting there alone, smiling to herself. And you can hear the fucking creatures in the background. And it's just like, oh my God.
And then the producers screen, Marshall screened that for the producers and they were like, great movie, except for one thing. So in America, she does escape. There is no final twist that she's hallucinating it. She gets out of there. She gets in the truck. She fucks off. And the sequel is built upon that ending. I'm assuming the sequel was like more of an American production.
Yeah, Marshall had nothing to do with it.
He claimed an executive producer credit, but that was it.
And even then, it was like I remember, if I recall correctly, when I was on the Bloody Disgusting site back in the day, reading up on this, because I remember initially when they first announced, I was like, oh shit, they're making a sequel. And one of my red flags was like Marshall was like, yeah, I'm an executive producer, but like I'm not really doing much on it. I think he was filming Doomsday or something. Like he was filming something else. He's like, I'm gonna film something else. I'm not really attached to it. It's like this, I'm not, the studio wants this more than I do. Like you could tell it was just like he didn't want the sequel, but he obviously isn't going to turn down the money from having an executive producer credit. So, and it was like, all right, well, I have my movie I made. I'll put my, executive producer, but fuck it, if you want to make the movie, you want to make the movie. I think was his attitude, like, I can't stop you.
The John Carpenter approach. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about it in a minute. First up, here's some Filmgazm facts. Number one, the appearance of the creatures was kept secret from the cast until the first scene in which they encounter them was filmed. When the cast were finally filming the scene where the girls encounter the crawlers, they were genuinely scared. That was the first time any of them had actually seen the creature in full makeup. That is awesome.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, so the reactions are like, what the fuck? Like very genuine, like, oh my God, that's terrifying. That's awesome. Number two, Tobin Bell, who plays Jigsaw in the Saw franchise, said in an interview that this was one of his favorite horror films. So just a little nugget of fun for you there.
Oh, that just makes me happy. Jigsaw approved horror film.
Oh yeah. Number three, the scene where Sarah finds Beth barely clinging to life originally featured some, quote, truly shit dialogue, and the actors let that be known. Neil Marshall agreed, and the three went to a nearby pub the night before filming and rewrote the dialogue on a napkin. The film's producer chewed Marshall out for it, but he also agreed the scene was vastly improved now. That's pretty cool. I like when a writer could admit their words are shit and it can be better. You got to be able to do that as a writer.
Yeah, and I love how the producer just chewed him out. Like, how dare you make it better? Like, fuck off, dude. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is why Neil Marshall did not get this to even continue to be the bigger success he should have. I mean, he got steady work, so I'm not going to say he was a failure process movie, because that's not true at all. He kept doing movies, and there are fans of Doomsday and Centurion and stuff like that. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so weird. To like after this, you would think you'd be hearing about him like James Wan label now, which is just constantly like, oh, the new Neil Marshall movie. But it's like he kept getting stuck doing movies where producers come in and fuck with them and tell them what to do and how to do it. And it's like, leave him the fuck alone. He's proven with his first two movies, he knows how to take a cast and give us believable, nuanced characters and put them in a horrific situation and keep us on the edge of our seats. So why do you insist on fucking with them so much? Eventually, the apex being Hellboy. Like, why would you do that? And then, like you said, he delivered some of the best episodes of Game of Thrones. I know a lot of people like his episodes. So it's like, why again? And I'm sure they left him alone to a decent amount. It's a show a little different for that, but it's like, so yeah, why? He's clearly a brilliant writer, he's a brilliant director. Leave him the fuck alone, let him make his movie.
Well, I feel like just the constant producer interference and not getting to make his own mark is kind of disillusioned him. I'm getting that vibe of like he doesn't want to do this anymore if he can't get to do it his way, you know?
Yeah, well, and that's why I've been wanting to watch The Reckoning, because when I listened to the interview, he made that comment. He did say like he was starting to kind of not feel like he really had to reassess, because it was like, okay, it's his birthday, because besides like some TV gigs with Game of Thrones, he haven't had the best luck with movies and dealing with these producers. And when he did The Reckoning, he said, he wrote it. He was like, I'm doing this myself. I'm working in it with people that I know want to make this movie. Like, he really tacked it as like not just his return to kind of like full on horror, because his movies kind of passes for like dabble in horror, but not nearly as much as his first two. So kind of going back to that, but going back to an indie thing, that was his big thing. Is like he wanted to go indie because he's like, if I do this, I'll be left alone. I can make the kind of movies I want to make.
Yeah, that's the place to be. I think if you want to be creative, I think we've talked about this on this show, or at least sneak preview. I remember bringing this up at one point, but independent film is where creativity like blossoms, and Hollywood is really just churning them out. You don't feel a lot of connection to big Hollywood releases. Sometimes you do, but not often. Whereas a lot of indie films, you can kind of tell how this was built and who, people cared about it. I don't know. That's just, I know this isn't like anything new. It's just something I like.
It's just the movie world works like this. Like, indie is like people that are very passionate about what they do, and you get a lot more heartfelt movies out of it. Unfortunately, it's not where the money's at. So a lot of times they're probably living like we are, honestly, just making movies. But then, the Hollywood blockbusters, yeah, the movies are clearly like they're trying them out. It's a machine. They're doing whatever's making money box office. That's what they want to do. But the paychecks are really, really fucking good.
Yeah. No, it sucks. I wish that we could find some kind of happy medium where, the indie filmmakers get money and the Hollywood producers get to, make something worthwhile.
Maybe once we actually get producers that know a thing or two about movies instead of just producers as they are now.
Well, they can't all be Jason Blum and Kevin Feige.
I keep hoping those guys are like the future of what we'll get.
Hopefully. So there was one sequel, 2009's The Descent Part 2, which follows the American ending where Sarah escapes. When the authorities can't find the other girls, she's forced to take them back to the cave, and it all happens again. The entire cast returned for small cameos. It was not well received, pretty hated among the fan base. The creature design is a little different. The lighting is ridiculously high, which I thought was weird. And I like the cast. I like seeing Josh Dallas die. That was cool. I watched all of Once Upon a Time, and Charming never got a fucking scratch. So it was nice to see him actually take one for once.
I haven't seen the show, so I'm glad you had that moment for yourself.
The first 3 seasons are so fucking good. And then after Elsa from Frozen showed up, it all went to shit.
Yeah. Okay. I got too much TV on my plate right now that I will pencil it in somewhere.
Don't bother.
I'm not.
Like Robert Carlyle does a great job as Rumpelstiltskin. He plays like they call him the Dark One, and he saves that show the entire runtime. So he's why I kept going back.
Okay, I was like, I think I'll just stick with the new episodes of Chucky and Day of the Dead, and I Know What You Did Last Summer. I'll stick with those.
Yeah, you do you. I just yeah. Um, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, why would the cop drag a trauma victim back to the scene of the crime like that? Throw her back in the caves. Like, at that point, they weren't even suspecting her of foul play. So, like, what the fuck?
It the movie just God, it's so incredibly unnecessary.
Yeah.
And then like, with the caves being lit so bright this time, it looks so fucking cheap to me. Like, it's just a cheap feeling because they just are lighting it up as much as they can. And because of it, the creature designs just look god fucking awful in my opinion. I don't think they look nearly as good as they do in the original. And they are clearly also trying to do like even more of them than the first one did. And I'm not saying the first one had like a small amount. There are scenes where they try to put as much as they can, but what they put looked good. This one tries to put even more, and none of it looks good.
It was neat seeing the alpha. That was kind of cool. Like, big old bastard.
Yeah, but I kind of need that. And then I wasn't clamoring to see like the leader of this. I just wasn't something I was really clamoring for.
One thing I thought was odd. Why did the old guy hit the one cop lady at the end with the shovel and like give her to the creatures? What the fuck was that?
Yeah, it pulls a fucking like that's how they've been feeding though. It was like again, not paying attention to the first movie clearly with this sequel. It's established that they've been going out and hunting probably at like night or something, and then going back. And now it's like, oh no, we've been feeding them. And also, this is the thing too, right? The first one talks about the biggest glaring fucking hole. First one talks about how this is an unexplored cave. That's one of the terrifying things about the movie. That's when your heart sinks when you watch me and you're like, no one's explored this cave.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh shit, they're not getting out of this. In this movie, apparently this cave has been explored because there's fucking systems that can go down there. The locals know about it. Like, apparently this cave's existed and been well known. And it's like, oh, it's like, okay, so what was all that shit about? No one knows about this cave.
Yeah, that's a big fat hole. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, why is there a mine? There's a mine there. Like, there's an elevator down to these people. Huh. Yeah, that's fucked.
Yeah, it's like this. That's why it's like, and that's why fans and myself hate it. It's like this movie just completely doesn't give a shit what was established in the first one. Like I said, Marshall, he put his name on there and was like, just stayed away because it's like I'll take any money I get off this movie, but this is not my Descent movie because he didn't want to make a sequel. There was no need for a sequel. There was no call for it, and this movie proves why we didn't need a sequel. And then, like I said, Juno coming back for a redemption arc, no, there's no way that she should have a redemption arc, in my opinion.
Yeah, Descent 2 kind of sucks. Yeah, you win.
I knew I could convince you.
I never said it was good. I just said it wasn't terrible.
That was still too much for me. I was like, you're being way too forgiving on this movie, sir. You can't tell me that this movie isn't terrible, but you were disappointed in Antlers. How dare you?
I didn't think that was. I mean, at least Descent 2 didn't.
Nope.
All right, I won't go there.
Antlers, carols were way better, had better go, and the lightning was superb.
Lighting and Antlers sucked. I disagree with that.
I don't know, the lighting was great.
Not the time. Antlers is going to have to get its own Filmgazm at one point, just so we can kind of unpack that movie proper.
I like it clearly a lot more than you do.
Okay. Your trophy's in the mail. I don't know what you expect from that.
My trophy's already here.
I give The Descent a 9. It's one of the smartest and scariest horror movies of the 2000s and a genuine favorite of mine.
I am going to give it a 10. This is a flawless movie to me. Based off the British ending. That American ending and then the last minute jump scare is so fucking stupid. But
tell me this though. If you hadn't seen the British ending, would it still bother you?
If I hadn't seen it,
Yeah. If it just ended with her escaping and you knew nothing about this alternate ending.
that wouldn't bother me, but that jump scare at the end would. That last second, like, fucking jump scare, because I'm so tired of studios doing that shit with the, like, oh, boo, credits. Like, it's so fucking annoying. I don't know. Probably not, but the fact of the matter is there is a British ending that is better and it exists. And but with that,
go ahead.
With that said, I mean, it's still a 10 out of 10 film for me. I mean, from Marshall's direction to the performances, again, to the fact that, like, so many people, I haven't met anyone that has watched this movie and has told me yet they get scared before the creatures come on. It's that fucking good and that fucking tense before the creatures come on. They're, like you said, they're the cherry on top of this movie. And I mean, you have probably two, I would say two of the most iconic. I know Josh really hates that word, I found out. But I would argue that, you know, the monster reveal and the blood pool thing, whatever you want to call it, are iconic because they're just, everyone knows that shit from this movie. Those two scenes in particular. But yeah, just everything about this movie I love. I loved it since I first saw it as a kid. It's been a favorite of mine. I love showing it to people and seeing how they react. 10 out of 10.
Cool. Yeah, no complaints here. I did just realize that I left out a Filmgazm fact. I forgot to read out number 4. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. Prior to the release of the sequel, it was speculated among fans that the crawlers may have been a figment of Sarah's imagination and that she actually killed all her friends as she gradually went insane. Interesting. Director Neil Marshall acknowledged this theory as a possibility and revealed that he removed a shot of a silhouetted crawler during Sarah's hospital hallucination, since it would have been too obviously suggesting that the crawlers weren't real. So it's possible that these things never existed and Sarah just snapped and murdered her friends.
Oh, see, again, ignore the shitty sequel that didn't even have Marshall's direction. That's a pretty awesome theory. And again, if you go by the British ending, like I said, it ends with she's sitting there at peace with her daughter, right? Her dead daughter, and you just hear them in the background. It could still be in her head. She could still be, you know, hearing it in her head.
Yep. A lot of possibilities with this one. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. If you like what we do, feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, Filmgazm Productions. If you want to suggest films for us to check out, you can email us at filmgazm@gmail.com or send us a message through the socials. If you want to support the show through Anchor, you can click on Support This Podcast on your preferred podcast provider. Anything is appreciated, but not necessary. Thank you for listening. Next week, the cycle continues with Oscar Sunday host Austin Johnson's pick, the 1972 Brian De Palma thriller Sisters, starring Margot Kidder, Jennifer Salt, and Charles Durning. A small-time reporter tries to convince the cops that she witnessed a murder in the apartment across the street. Murder, psychological terror, and conjoined twins in next week's episode. Also, don't miss a Best Picture showdown on Nomadland on Oscar Sunday and a triple threat of Eternals, Spencer, and The Harder They Fall on Monday's sneak preview. Until then, never go cave diving unless they're pre-mapped and you've told at least 5 people where you're going and when to expect you back. Might as well stay home and keep watching movies.